What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Welcome, everybody, to the Awakening World, our Wednesday night edition. I'm Love Coach Scott Thomas, and I'm honored to be your host. And I want to welcome our friends that have come into the Zoom room. I see a lot of our regulars. It's good to have you with us. Thank you. If you haven't already, let us know where you are geographically. And I want to welcome those of you that are watching via our broadcast partners. A big thank you to John and Summer Raymer with the Sign Network. John and Summer are going to drop in and be with us tonight. And they get us out to over 100 Facebook groups and pages. Also want to welcome those of you watching on the different YouTube channels, including Alan Steinfeld's and ours, the Global Peace Tribe. And also welcome to those watching on our newest broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network. Now, it's wonderful that you're all watching, but I want to invite you to actually come on into the Zoom room because that's where you can interact more easily. We put a lot of links into the chat box, and we can actually take your questions, your comments, which we usually share on air. And it's really easy to join us. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and you can scroll around. You can see a little bit about who we are and what we do. And then click where it says to join our new season. And that'll take you to our registration page. We do 3 or 4 shows every week. And all of the shows are inspiring, uplifting, where we bring people like you to meet tonight, amazing new thought leaders, but also music. We always include a lot of music in our shows. So for example, this week, this is the show that we're doing tonight. And then tomorrow on Saturday night, we're going to bring in some of my favorite relationship coaches and love coaches, talking all about how to embody our divinity while honoring our polarity. It's going to be powerful. And then a really special Sacred Sound concert on the Sacred Sunday show. Dr. Ivy Hilton and Piper Dellums. These 2 women get paid thousands of dollars to travel around the world doing sound healings. They are at the top of the field, and they're donating an entire morning to us to really take us on a Sacred Sound journey. So that's what's happening this week. So please do join us. The Global Peace Tribe is a wonderful group of like-minded souls, truly from all over the world. We have people in Ecuador and Australia and British Columbia. We do retreats. We've got another one planned for Southern California in March, Asheville, North Carolina, the Bay Area this year. So come and join us. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about tonight's show and briefly introduce you to our guests. Next weekend, we honor the vision of Martin Luther King Jr. and put him up there. And every year, the Awakening World and Global Peace Tribe does something around Martin Luther King Jr. And I thought for tonight, as we prepare for the weekend, I wanted to invite people that I really respect, and talk to them and talk with you, our audience, about how can we actually live this beautiful man's visions, his vision for our world. And so we're going to talk about the virtues that he embodied and that he taught and how we can actually live them. And of course, joining me, as she now will on Wednesday nights, my dear friend, Trish, our wonderful co-host. And Trish has brought in her mentor, her teacher, and someone that has become one of my favorite guests on the Awakening World, Reverend Bridge Feltis. She's our keynote speaker tonight and a very, very, very spiritual. She's extremely spiritual, as you can tell. I want you to know, Bridge, that Trish was saying to me, she's very mystical. She's got a whole cosmic side. I said, I know. So
I was like, yes, some amazing things. Like, yeah.
We got some kind of sound interference happening. I think it stopped.
There must be some right then, huh?
To your microphone.
Yeah, there's something going on with your microphone, Trish. So see what you can do. And we have a second co-host tonight. Tangela is back. And it's great to have Tangela. Welcome.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Trish. Hi, Reverend Bridge. Hello, everyone. So excited to be here today with all of you.
Tangela, would you be willing to welcome your two guests, since you know them and I'm just meeting them for the first time tonight?
Yes, definitely. It's my pleasure to introduce everyone to Ray and Sahat. They are wonderful, amazing, cosmic, spiritual friends, leaders, teachers in the community, and they are just really focused on creating safe space and community for people around the world, especially younger generation going through this spiritual awakening process, having so many questions, not know where to go, what to do, who to talk to about visions or feelings or just anything that could be happening. And so they have an incredible community and show called Cosmic Convos that they host every Thursday. And they are just really great, new leaders in this field, bringing forth the integration of body, mind, and spirit for self-mastery and spirituality. So welcome, guys.
Thank you. It's a blessing being here and sharing in this energy.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, I am going to turn it over to Reverend Bridge, because tonight we really want to drop in and have a deep experience. And so I really am honored that you're with us, Reverend Bridge. And would you lead us in an opening, dropping in meditation, please?
Absolutely. So our physical senses, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our sense of smell, our sense of sight, our hearing, our nerve endings would have us to believe that we have thousands of miles or hundreds of miles between us and that we are not actually here together today. And I would invite us all to drop into the heart space, claim, acknowledge, and affirm that we are one, that our coming together is simply mental because we were never apart, that we are always one, and that we simply have the capacity to switch our consciousness in different ways to serve our various purposes in life. But for this moment, I invite us all to imagine we are together in one space at one time, forming a circle, the circle representing oneness, And this act of envisioning that oneness, that circle, reminding us of that one foundational truth, that we are one. From that, all other truths spring forth. We are one. We are not just a collective that have things in common or interests in common. We are literally one organism. Not just you and me, the chair that you sit on, the floor that chair is on, the earth beneath the building that you're in, the community, the city, the state, the country, the entirety of the continent that you live on, the oceans between, the rivers, the waters, the mountains, the valleys, all one with you and I. And I would invite us to pull, clear, and release all attachment to separation in this moment. You can pick it back up again when you need it. But at this moment, I ask that we all pull, clear, and release our attachment to separation, our attachment to individualism in this moment. Release, clear it, so that we might experience ourselves as having access to the all. This is a deep practice of abundance, because if you have access to the all, what could you possibly want for? What could you possibly need to preserve because of scarcity? Being one with the all means that I have access to everything I could possibly need or want. And if that's true, then I have some vulnerability that I can spare for you. I have some love that I can spare for you, some patience, some kindness that I can spare for you. And I cannot dictate this as your sentiment, but if you agree, perhaps say yes out loud and feel yes in your body. May we remember this one foundational truth, that we are one. May we remember what we once knew before we forgot who we were. Ashe. Aho and Amen.
I felt alone for oh so many years. hold my head high to hide the pain. Nowhere to turn, so to myself again I tune my heart to the mother. I am one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, one with all. I am one with all feeling, one with all love, one with all healing, one with all. The time has come to wake my sleepy head and peel back the sheets of illusion. The time has come to lift my voice once more and sing the songs of the new world. I am one with all feeling, and one with all love, one with all healing, and one with all. I am one with all feeling, one with all love, one with all healing, one with all.
Oh my sure, did we plan this? No,
Yes,
we didn't. You and I, yes, you and I did not discuss that.
When just about 10 minutes before the show, you came and knocked on my crown and said, "Play that song," and so here we are. Yay!
I love it.
Namaste.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And of course, everybody, that's Omashar, our house musical artist. And you can always get more Omashar by going to omashar.bandcamp.com and pick up his beautiful, beautiful music. Thank you, Omashar. That was absolutely the perfect song after the beautiful opening meditation period.
It was, I know, as Reverend Bridge was dissertating, whatever you want to call it, I thought, wow, really? And that song's coming afterwards? Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
beautiful. Well,
some would say that I am strangely unassuming. I do not really present, and it's funny that y'all were chuckling about my spiritualness, my deep spirituality, because I don't present necessarily like most would think. And I'm just listening to spirit. That's all. I'm really just doing what I'm told. And that's what happens.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things I respect about you, is that you are clearly someone who lives your life in the flow. It's very, very beautiful. I'm going to bring everybody up for a moment just because I want to kind of open our conversation. And so these are our initial presenters for tonight. And Summer is here. I said that Summer Joy Raymer has joined us. So welcome, Summer. Hello.
I'm in the oneness with everything that's happened here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So our opening question, how do each of you envision Martin Luther King? What does he mean to you? What does he represent to you? And what are some of the ways that you kind of carry in your life your imagining of his values, of his beliefs, what he stood for in this life? And just open it to any of you who want to tackle that question initially, but I'd love to actually hear from each of you tonight, sharing your thoughts about that.
I think I'll go last. I think someone else should go first.
Yeah, we can go first.
How about our next generation? Let's go with Ray and Sahab then.
Absolutely.
Blessings, everyone.
Yes, divine evening to you. So first of all, that beautiful selection. Thank you so much, Omashar. That was so beautiful. Oh my goodness, moved all of us.
And the meditation was just in divine alignment because, the message overall of what Dr. King presented was unity and being as one. So when you look at as above, so below, we're in this cosmic dance. We're these divine spirits that are having an imperfect human experience, and we're all a part of source. We're all unified. It doesn't matter what we look like on the outside. When you look at your body on the inside, you have all these different parts that are moving together, but they don't look at each other. You don't have your white blood cells looking at your other parts of your body like, oh, I don't want to mess with you because you look different from me. Like, no, it's a unity. So when we look past and embrace the magnificence that is within all of us and walk in integrity, which is what I feel that he really embodied, that's when we come together and really let go of the ego and navigate as one.
Absolutely. For me, it's the integrity. One of my mentors says all the time, who are you when no one's watching? And that to me is integrity. Like, are you, and we're spiritual leaders in the community. So being in front of the room, I have to live up to what I'm preaching. You know what I mean? So living in integrity is just a huge principle that I carry throughout my life as well, making sure that I am engaging in my spiritual practices and that I am remaining in alignment and balanced energetically in order to be the example, and I think that's, to me, what living in integrity looks like is, are you able to be the example? Like my mom, she lives in a way where anytime you could pop up at her house and her house is pristine. And she raised me like that. Like, you need to be ready for company, like if you got to clean up before you're not living in integrity, you have to be ready for company. So I bring that principle into my life and in my actions. Like, am I ready for company?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful start. And it's just beautiful to have what I like to call the next generation of new thought leaders on the show. So thank you, Tangela, for bringing your friends on board. And I guess, Tangela, I'd love to just go to you next. What you'd like to share?
Sure, Scott, and thanks so much, Ray and Sahat, for sharing. That was wonderful. And of course, Omashar and Reverend Bridge, beautiful opening to this show, which is such a powerful topic. And I think, when thinking of Dr. King and his principles of nonviolence, that's what he stood for, that's what he preached. But the basis of his philosophy was love, was unconditional love, pure love, love for all, love for each other, and love for oneself. And that love, that nonviolence pertained to physical acts, but also the internal thoughts. So again, so as above, so below, that holding that principle of love as first and foremost in all actions and also in all thoughts. So even when faced with frustration or opposition, making that choice, do I, where do I go? Do I go to fear? Do I go to anger? Do I go to rage? Or do I go to love? And do I then, by moving to love, jump into that higher timeline for myself, into my higher self? And that was his philosophy that he was preaching, that we are all able to jump this timeline together and truly jump into unity consciousness as one. And so, his words are so powerful, and we can really feel them, reverberating, within us. And especially during this time, as we're talking about the awakening, the global ascension, stepping into unity consciousness. But what does that really mean? It means holding ourselves, and for me, it means holding myself in love in all moments with all people. And it's not always easy. But that's the basis of where we're going, and creating and releasing that attachment to separation. As Reverend Bridge spoke about, we've all been trained in separation from the moment we're born, with all of these, earth identifiers, as we call them, religion, gender, race. And these are all just ingraining these ideas of separation within us. And really now we're in that point where let's release. And as we release, let's turn to love. Let's turn to love.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I really appreciated how she pointed it out. In fact, I wrote it down. It's like, what is our attachment to the separation, And clearly it's probably the idea that we'll be safe. I'll be safer if I stay in my little safe space, if I stay in my little safe cage.
Exactly.
That was beautiful, Reverend Bridge.
We've just been trained and programmed. And so, that's this releasing that we're all doing together.
Absolutely.
Trish, I'd love to hear what you'd like to share.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. Oh, I love this moment. Feeling into everyone's focus on connection and unity. That the intention here. I just want to say that Bridge is my coach, and she's on it. She's on it.
And I'm very much in suspense for what you're going to say.
Oh yeah. Well,
no pressure.
Don't worry, I'm going to text you in the chat box in a minute about what I'd like to bring up later. But one of the things that I would like to say about your work with me specifically is about integrity. And I know that Ray and Sahat brought this in, and integrity is really the key point. It's not Scott's integrity. That's not how I'm living my life, but it's my integrity. And one of the things that I've specifically learned from you is it's the distinction between when I am in integrity and when I'm not in integrity with my body and with my words. And I mean, one of the practices in my entire life is cultivating the self-love show in one of the things. And maybe I'm gonna say this wrong. I hope I don't totally like butcher this. I think that Martin Luther King said, believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody. Because there is the first thing when I think about living in unity or living outside of the separation is to learn how to self-reflect and look at the places where I struggle to love myself. And it's not an individual thing. It's that if I'm shaming, blaming, choosing to part myself out, is one of the pieces where I'm going to part everybody else out. It's the place where I have learned and have deemed myself unworthy of love. The places that I have learned to contort my body, my beauty, my brain, my behavior into a social norm that isn't my natural human beingness. These are the places where I've been desensitized to the naturalness of my naturalness of my body, my emotions, my feelings, my desires. It's these places where I've fit into a very long standing, we'll call it tradition, even long years and hundreds of years long traditions of mental programming, like Conchita was saying. But this is the place. These are the places where we've been taught to dehumanize ourselves from years of social conditioning and colonization. These are the places where we're also taught to create separation and dehumanize other people. So when we learn to really deeply love ourselves and find ourselves back in integrity in the walking forward in our way, like Ray's mom, she keeps her house clean. That's in her integrity. The way that I relate to people is in my integrity. So that is the practice here for me.
Yeah, and I think when you're not in integrity, it's very difficult to see yourself as one with anything, because you're attacking yourself, you're dehumanizing yourself, and then you can't afford at that point to be dehumanized by anyone else. So it puts you in defense and puts up a wall, and you kind of have to depend on that.
And that's one of the things that I think, this idea, this understanding of unity that we're all like, I think I would never speak for him myself, because I didn't live in his body. I didn't live in his brain. I didn't have his, I can't like pretend like I know what he was talking about, but I can sit with what it feels like when I hear those words in my body, and I can sit with the deep desire to feel longingly connected to each and every single person. Like, I don't want to feel separation. I want to feel connection to you. That's why we're here. Now, I do want to just throw it in for you. Bridge and I had one of my most powerful coaching sessions the other day, that I was really looking at the distinction between nonviolence, compassion, and protection. And we had some really good conversation about protection of human life. And I would love to bring that in, just because I'm spicy, you know it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. I want to give Summer Raymer a chance to respond to this question. And she is the creator of the Compassion Games. I'm wondering if that came out of your understanding and appreciation for Martin Luther King.
Well, first off, I just need, in the integrity that is so lovingly welcomed here. I am the co-founder of the Compassion Games and also Sign Network, my husband and I, and a lot of the work that we do is in relationship with so many other people that even make it possible. So, and we happen to be preparing for one of many opportunities to play the Compassion Games is this weekend January 13th through the 16th is the Beloved Community Convergence, and is honoring the legacy of Dr. King. And this convergence, this will be the third, and we've done many different ways to engage people in the spiritual experience and the inspiration of service. And the Compassion Games has been happening for many years, and there's wonderful opportunities all weekend, and there's still invitations for people to present and create and share space of beloved community, which is really what I feel is here in this space as we're together. This is the landing page. I just shared it in the chat. We're partnering, of course, with Pato Banton and Antoinette. The music and musing that they have created over the years as we've been collaborating is really the spirit of this beloved community convergence. Most of the events are in Zoom rooms, so it's really a shared experience. You know, I really feel here as we're talking about Dr. King, that invitation to want to embody and be together, that intimacy, the integrity, so much of that can be felt right here. As I feel Scott and Trish and so many people that are a part of the Global Peace Tribe are cultivating a beloved community. And also, just to get a little bit more personal, I am, wasn't expecting this. My dad, a year ago, yesterday, I found out that he had 5 tumors that were all growing back in his brain, and that my husband and I began a hospice process for him. And I've been thinking about him a lot with Dr. King. And something that I feel is really present is that my dad was reminding me, as I was full-time caregiver for him, the importance of we are here to take care of each other. No matter what, wherever we go, that whatever we can do and what is ahead of us, what is challenging us, is we can always do something for another person, no matter what. And today I've been cooking. Sometimes I've just been really present with revisiting a lot of the feelings that I had going on as I was preparing for having to let go of my father a year ago at this time. And just been revisiting a lot of the fears and issues going on in my digestive system. And a lot of the times what would help me in the insanity of what was unfolding was cooking food for my dad, was cooking meals for others to take care of the people that were there around me. And I really think with everything, everybody, almost everyone I know right now has so much going on that's hard. And it feels like as we talk about integrity and the possibility of unity, the immense social justice work that I think the Compassion Games coming into my life is like, there's so much to learn still to be fully compassionate and to learn how to be a good relative. That is has come into my life to continue to learn. And so I'm excited to continue to learn. I'm excited about the strength of vulnerability and to be loving, you know? And so that's something that I feel deeply. And yeah, so anyways, I didn't know it was going to get emotional, but there you go. So
your emotions are so welcome, Summer. Thank you. And Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for the wonderful work you're doing this weekend. And we'll learn a little bit more about it in a little bit.
So many incredible people that are giving and serving in their communities all over the country. Amazing service projects to keep us uplifted, and to continue to serve.
You've been doing this for a few years now, the Compassion Games and MLK Weekend.
Yeah. So I've been doing the work of the Compassion Games for almost 10 years, but it's been going on all over the world. Service has been activating service, and for others all over the world has been playing the Compassion Games. And this is a particular focus right now is social justice and the service and honoring of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday on the 15th, and then also his official day, National Day of Service on Monday. So there's a lot in the Zoom room and hands on the earth doing amazing work all over the country that we're also financially supporting through the good work of AmeriCorps, which is a great partner that's allowing us to grantee amazing work that is connected to a lot of good people doing amazing work, social justice work all over the country.
Thank you, Summer. Thank you so much. And again, this is the Summer that I thank every show who runs the Sign Network with her husband, John, that gets us out to as many as 100 Facebook groups and pages. So a lot of you are watching right now because of this woman and her partner, John. So thank you, Summer.
Well, it's an honor, and it's an honor to continue to support Trish and Dawn's work of the Self-Love Show. I think that that's, wow, we only can do so much of the work outside of ourselves, and how important it is to continue to learn how to love ourselves, So thank you, Trish, for standing up and doing that good work too.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Summer. I love you. It's nice to see you.
I love you too.
Before we hear from Omoshar, I kind of want to share what came up for me. In anticipation of the show, I did some Googling about MLK and his values. And what came up that I realized, wow, this is what I want to talk about, is his commitment to economic justice. And, we hear a lot about social justice, but there cannot be social justice without economic justice. And it was actually really interesting. I'll put this into the chat box. This article about the economic message behind Dr. King's famous I Have a Dream speech. And as I read this article, it was really a lights on for me, because more and more as I've worked with Reverend Bridge and the different leaders that we brought on who have talked about civil rights, they keep bringing it back. It's got to be economic justice, has to be economic justice. So I just wanted to acknowledge that part. So how do we do that in our daily lives? Any of us that have a position where we employ people, to absolutely employ those that you may not normally employ, but that are of different races, different cultures. When we buy, let's buy not just local, let's buy local and ethnic. Let's go into the areas of our communities where we may not normally go, but, and check out their offerings. And really think about how can we support those cultures, those races that are not at the same advantage as those of us that are privileged. And obviously I'm a tall white man. I'm the epitome of privilege in this country. And so I do my best to use my privilege to hopefully bring on people of different cultures. And that's not just Black. I love that Tangela is very multicultural. I'm still trying to figure out what Sahat's ethnic background might be. I love that more and more our world is just this incredible, beautiful combination of different cultures and different races and different belief systems and backgrounds. So anyway, bringing it back in our daily lives, how can we really create economic equality by our buying habits and by our employment habits? So that's the piece of what I'm learning from Dr. King and from others that I wanted to share. And before we go back to Bridge, I'm eager to hear what Omashar has to say about this topic and this question.
Well, thank you all so much for what you have shared. Ditto for all of it. And Summer, I felt you so deeply. I have a couple of very close people in my life at the moment who are going through something radically similar. And so, thank you for helping me feel that place in myself, because it's just, it just has to be felt. It has to be felt. Really, it's a part of my freedom. And so, Dr. King, I have a quote here of his. One is, everyone has the power for greatness, not for fame, but greatness, because greatness is determined by service. I mean, what a concept. And one thread that's always gone through my life is service first. And I feel that is a goddess given inherent divine quality, that we all are here to serve each other first and foremost. And what stands out to me even more about Dr. King is his authenticity and integrity, and his power, that when he speaks, it's just like he's channeling straight from the heart of creation that which needs to be heard in this moment. And in myself, I am doing my best to get out of my way to find that authentic voice in myself, because when you're speaking from that centered, authentic place, nothing you say is wrong. Everything you say distills the atmosphere around you, and everybody, even if they have opposing viewpoints, will go, well, yes, holy smoke, I haven't heard it like that before. And so my gratitude for him, apart from a million other gratitudes, is for showing me how to speak with authentic power. And one more thing, one last quote from him is, we may all have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now, right? So namaste, Dr. King. Love you so much. And this format. Thank you.
Thank you, Omashar. Well, you talked about just now how he channeled spirit, and clearly Reverend Bridge is someone who also does that. So Bridge, thank you for being here with us. And I'm eager to hear where you'd like to, your response to the question, and where you'd like to take this conversation.
Yes, could you repeat the question for me one more time?
Sure. The question is, how Martin Luther King has inspired you, and how you try and live your understanding of his values in your life.
All right, y'all.
What are we talking about?
Well, listen, one thing about my path and my calling and the way that spirit uses me is that the things that come out of my mouth are not necessarily comfortable things. They're not always the most warm and fuzzy and rainbows and love and light. But I am deeply devoted and deeply committed to truth and integrity. So the first thing I want to say is that Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., father, a husband, a minister with an entire congregation of people depending on his wisdom, was assassinated. Just want you to sit with that for a moment. So while we love to talk about Martin Luther King preaching nonviolence, we don't like to talk about what Martin Luther King was speaking out to change. We don't like to talk about the entities and the forces that were deliberately violent. And that's why he chose that position. That's why he chose that way of showing up in the world, in direct defiance of the violence that was happening in the world. Not just what you see in the old TV hosing people in the streets, beating them, hanging them from trees, burning crosses on the front lawn of my ancestors. Well, actually, let me just say that Martin Luther King was assassinated when I was 3 years old. My mother was 24 when this happened. My mother was 24. And this man who stood for hope for us all, really, who was here to defend us all with his words, with his eloquence, was snuffed out. And prior to him being snuffed out, know that Martin Luther King Jr. had armed security. He had security with machine guns outside of that motel room where he was assassinated. I really want y'all to let that factual information land, because while we talk about nonviolence, I want us to be in integrity about it. When we talk about oneness, I don't necessarily know that it means what many of us think it means. What I know is that if I mess with one of God's creatures that I'm not supposed to be messing with, it's going to harm me to protect itself. Do we call that violence? I also know that right now in California, in LA at least, we've been having rain for the last 3 weeks, and some people have been, their homes have been damaged. They've been pushed out of their homes because of floods. Is that violence? Are we able to be in integrity with how we talk about these things so that we don't weaponize Martin Luther King Jr.'s message to us? Can we see him as a whole human being with spirit and flesh and mind, with a body? When we talk about oneness, can we think of oneness as a body? That it's not about equality at all. In fact, the Buddhists would say that equality is one of the forms of conceit. And I'll say a little more about that in a few moments. But first, I just want to say that my hand and my foot are not the same. My heart, my hand, and my foot are not the same. They're not in competition with each other. They don't get equal treatment. I put shoes on my feet. I don't put shoes on my hands. I walk with my feet. I carry things with my hands. I don't walk with my lips. You understand what I mean? So this body, this organism right here is made up of thousands of parts, millions if you really want to get deep with it. Millions of parts that make up the one organism. And they each have their jobs, and they each get what they need from the air that I breathe and the sunlight that I take in through my skin, and the food that I eat and the water that I drink and the information that I consume. This organism would not survive if I were attached to the idea of equality. Instead, I like the idea of equity, that every organism gets what it needs, and that it have access to the tools to create what it wants. That's very different from everybody gets $10. You understand? That is very different. One of the reasons we're having such issues today in our societies around things like equal rights or affirmative action in the workplace, or the way things are taught in school, is because there's no equity, not because there's no equality. Equality is not natural. There's hierarchies in nature. They're just not based on superiority. They're based on symbiosis. They're not forced. They're not contrived. They're based on symbiosis, what is needed, and how each organism works together with the other organisms around it to create the bigger organism. It's why while we're out here in this world thinking of ourselves as separate, talking about love and light and nonviolence, we're in the middle of the biggest mass extinction of animals in the history of mankind, and it's man-made. Martin Luther King was talking about that as well. Martin Luther King was killed for what he was fighting for. He wasn't killed because he was nonviolent. He was killed because he was rebellious, because he was teaching something that would enlighten and awaken the masses. And if the masses were to wake up, then those who exploit the masses would be disempowered. So his stance of nonviolence, by the way, again, he had armed guards. So that doesn't mean what you think it means. He literally had people with machine guns guarding him to protect him. That doesn't mean what you think it means when you talk about Martin Luther King and nonviolence. I'm sorry to bust that bubble, but it is true. It is fact. So what did he mean by nonviolence? Well, I think he was talking about our defiance of nature, of our defiance of truth, our defiance of the symbiosis of the greater organism. These artificial attempts to create artificial individuated profit, these artificial attempts to create artificial contests between each other and the rest of life on the planet. That's what I know him to be talking about.
Richard, I wanted to add something too, on the nonviolence part. My primary mentor who really had the biggest impact on me was Marshall Rosenberg, who founded nonviolent communication, called it nonviolent communication out of respect for Martin Luther King. And he does teach the protective use of force, kind of the answer to your question, at least from Marshall's perspective, is that the protective use of force is part of the world that we are living in at this time.
A part of nature.
Part of nature. Yeah. Mama bear, right? We still use that expression, mama bear,
Listen,
right?
one of our most revered flora, the rose, has thorns.
Right.
And those thorns are there to protect that plant because rose bushes are delicious. Understand that being able to preserve one's life is a part of the natural order of things. It is biologically a part of your makeup. It is cognitively a part of the way your mind works. And because we've been disconnected from that, and quite often people try and use Martin Luther King Jr.'s message to as a weapon against people using their voice, against people speaking out in an angry tone, against people criticizing. And nowadays, even when we talk about, well, cancel culture, I mean, back in Martin Luther King's day, it would have been called a boycott.
Right.
But we speak about this as if we are not like it's dishonorable and disintegrated for us to use our discernment about what we consume. We must wake up. We must think deeper and with more complexity. We must let go of our attachment to black and white, this binary way of thinking. Because if we don't, the cycle continues. Because what happened after Martin Luther King was murdered? The world was cast into despair. And ever since, gradually, the things that he built up have been falling apart. Until we are willing to think in paradox and nuance, we will not be at peace. And peace is possible. Peace is possible. But peace is not, shut up, Bridge. Don't talk about the every 28 hours a Black man is killed by police. Shut up, Trish. Don't talk about the man that abused you. This is not natural. And if we don't honor the complexity of nature as we move forward in our evolution, we are actually taking a step forward and 2 steps back. And I think, listen, what his last messages, his speeches and his interviews that he did near the end of his life were all about the economic disparity in the world. And this disparity is attached to government systems, corporate practices, and groups of people who deliberately depend on and are addicted to white supremacy, cis heteropatriarchy, ableism, and corporate capitalism, all of which are about imperialism. Long before there was racism, there was imperialism. Long before Black people were being hung from trees, there were white people in Europe being hung from trees. The Irish famine was not a natural occurrence. This was capitalism, where the British government decided that they could make a lot of money by usurping the land and only growing potatoes, which ruined the soil, took out the access to food resources and sent actually millions of Irish people to the new frontier, where those systems start all over again, wiping out people who were considered disposable, kidnapping and enslaving people who were considered less than. And ultimately, it's not about white people versus brown people. There's something deeper and more insidious at the root. But because every time someone wants to have this conversation, listen, I'm having it right now because Scott has given me a platform, and I don't know if he'll do it again after this, but listen, I'm here and I'm going to use my platform to say what Spirit tells me to say. And I'm going to check in with myself to make sure that I'm telling the truth to the best of my ability, to the best of my knowledge. And that what I say is in alignment with the service of us all.
Bridge, first of all, absolutely am going to continue to invite you back. And I do want to hear more of what you have to say. But I also would love to hear a little bit from our other two guests for a moment.
Yes.
I'd love to hear what comes up for Ray and Sahat, either in response to the wisdom and the harsh truth coming from Bridge. Yeah, I'd love to hear what's alive for you. And I'm going to keep the camera on you as well, Bridge.
So speaking for just me, one of the things that I am adamant about is that if we're going to have unity, we have to have that equality in education so that people are financially literate and they have the spiritual tools to tap into that magnificent within. Because one of the things that's keeping people distracted, there's a lot of distractions. Racism is a distraction. The people at the top don't care about racism. They care about
Not at all.
classism. It's classism. It's how much money is in your pocket. So you can have people that are living in a trailer park. Do you think that those people that have the same complexion as the people who are out here printing the money and all that, you think they care about that? No, they care about the people that are in that class with them and what they can do for them in their pockets. So what we need to do as a people is we need to stand up and how other communities are coming together and they're saying, oh, we're going to barter, or we're going to create our own financial system, or we're going to lean towards a decentralized system like cryptocurrency. And that's where the governments are fearing because they want people stuck on these fiat currencies. So what can we do to stir up distractions? Oh, let's pull the race card. Oh, well, these Arabs over here, they bombed these buildings. Oh, but we actually went over there and we bombed their country and took some artifacts out of their museums. But right. And there's layers to this. So the racism is just a huge distraction to keep us pointing a finger at each other like, oh, you did it. When it's actually, we need to go within. We need to dissolve the things that we've been holding on to, not in just this lifetime, but in our previous lifetimes, because there's epigenetics that's at play. There is you have your Akash. We can get deep and spiritual in this. You have things that are blocking you in your Akash. Your Akash is tied to your DNA. Your DNA has to be cleansed. You need to decompartmentalize, you need to decompress, you need to release and dissolve all the things that are not serving you. And then once you do that, you go within, you see that magnificence within you. There's no way you're not going to see the magnificence within other people. So like it was mentioned earlier, who am I when nobody's looking? when I'm driving and that person cuts me off in traffic and they're angry, they give me that negative energy. Am I going to accept that gift from them? Or am I going to be like, no, thank you. I don't need that. But guess what? I got this light for you. You need this.
Well, they may not even have sent you any negative energy. That might just have been a mistake. They may not have noticed you were there even. And your reaction to it is yours, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, another part that really plays into this is parasites. Or parasites.
Come on.
Everybody has parasites. I don't care if you're vegan. I don't care if you've done some kind of cleanse. If you have not done a systemic cleanse, you have parasites.
A lot of people are doing colon cleanses, but they don't only exist in your colon, unfortunately.
You have parasites that are thousands of years old. They are intelligent creatures in your mind.
Most of them are in your mind.
And they know how to tap into those abilities that you have in your brain. They know how to manipulate your mind. So we need to address that as well, because we have physical parasites and then there's spiritual parasites as well.
Absolutely. And while we're talking about the mind, that's my wheelhouse right there. I love how you were talking about the symbiosis, like the left hand and the right. Y'all know that saying where it's like, don't let the left hand know what the right hand doing. Like that means your body is out of sync. You're out of alignment, right? Yes. What do you mean? No, this is one organism, so if you're keeping secrets from your left hand to your right hand, then you, in your language, are creating that separatism that we're talking about. And so all of this fear is embedded in our subconscious mind, right? And I had mentioned earlier when you were talking about the mind, the unconscious mind is literally to protect you. It's created, it's called the survival brain, right? It's created to protect you. So it puts you, when you experience fear, it puts you in a state of flight, fight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. Fight is the first one. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about nonviolence, it is literally part of your nature. It is embedded in your unconscious mind to fight when you need to be protected. So what they're doing, and when I say they, I mean like we're talking about the elite. We're not necessarily talking about races here at all. We're talking about the elite, the people who run the corporations, right? That capitalism that you referred to, Bridge. We're talking about those people in power. They embed this fear into your mind in order for you to play this tug of war game between each other to keep you distracted from what actually is going on the back end, right? So when it comes to what Sahat was saying, and like, really, you have to unlearn and unprogram. I'm a student right now of NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, right? We are programmed from the moment we exit the womb, what to believe, what to eat, what to understand, what to agree with, what to disagree with, what church to go to, who to hang out with, right? We are programmed from the moment we exit the womb on who we are supposed to be. So now we're in this new energetic space where we get to explore and experience a new way of living, right? We're moving back to that more feminine energetic space, that more maternal, because you had mentioned the patriarchal society, right? We're moving more to that maternal type of energy now. So that is where we must embrace compassion, where we must embrace the nurturing of our nature, right? And I honestly believe that it is about unity. It is about wholeness. I know I'm a huge believer in what you say. And a lot of us for centuries have said, oh, we want peace, we want peace, we want peace. Peace of what?
Well, we don't actually want peace. We just want people to leave us alone. We just want to don't rock my boat. Don't disrupt my comfort zone. Don't tell me things I don't want to know. I don't care that, I don't know what's in those things I'm eating. Don't tell me. I'm going to be upset.
Right. Cognitive
or even like we want our friends and our family to lie to us, because as soon as they tell us a truth we don't want to hear,
Truth hurts.
Yeah.
You need it hurt.
And
And
language.
really, yes. So like when we talk about oneness, oneness sounds great until we realize what it really means is that you've got to accept the full range of what is.
And you know
and
what?
then learn how to navigate it. Learn how to have a relationship with it that is healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about us defining separate groups somewhere. I mean, I look at people like Donald Trump or white supremacists or white nationalists or whoever you want to put as your favorite enemy, your favorite villain. I mean, these are still human beings, and they've just been conditioned in a different way than I have. And why are they so upset and so defensive and so mad? Well, I know why. There's many very valid reasons why. Many of them have also come from lineages of poverty because of imperialism. Many of them are living with all kinds of disadvantages that they feel are unfair. And we're talking equality, equality, equality. Well, that sounds like nothing for them. So how can we really get to where everybody gets to live? It means that the man who has one leg needs a prosthetic. I don't. So he gets his prosthetic. But what do I need? I may need something else. I should have access to that. I should have access to shelter and food and education. And education that actually tells the truth.
That part.
Yeah. Because let me tell you, from my first educational experience, the very first thing I learned how to do was pledge allegiance to a flag. I didn't even know what that flag was. I didn't know what it stood for at the time. I knew nothing about how this country was built, how it became the most powerful country in the world because of the money it made from slavery. I had no clue. I'm a little 5-year-old kid pledging allegiance to a country, which is not, it's an artificial entity. It's not real. That flag isn't sacred. I am sacred.
Yes.
You are sacred. So I pledge allegiance to you, but nobody taught me that when I was a kid. About 15 years ago, I discovered the Kabbalion, which teaches the 7 principles of everything that are the foundation for everything. They're the foundation for science. They're the foundations for your most favorite philosophers of Europe. These principles stand up today to every major religion and the arcane religions and esoteric religions. They stand up to science, physics, chemistry as truth. I found these in, 15 years ago, approximately. And immediately as I read this book, I thought to myself, why do they not teach me this in school? Why didn't they tell me in school that I can create my experiences with my mind? Why didn't they teach me in school that everything has correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without? Why was I not taught that everything has vibration? Everything is vibrating. Nothing is static or still. One of the biggest controversies today is about trans people. Why didn't they teach me there's no such thing as binary gender? Why didn't they teach me that polarity? It doesn't mean there's this thing over here and that thing over there and they're separate. But what's true is that they are varying degrees of one thing. Why don't they teach us these things? Because then we'd be powerful. Because then they wouldn't be able to lie to us. And it's our responsibility as we gain access to more and more of what is true, that we don't shy away from it because it's uncomfortable, that we don't shy away from it because it really will trigger your anger and grief. It will bring up rage in you and sorrow. It will bring up fear. Well, all those things are already in there. Can we just let them come up and out?
Yes. I'm going to come in for a moment just because I'm loving everything that's saying. It's such an important conversation. And I want to acknowledge our audience is, giving some comments, and I do want to hear more from the audience. And because it's the awakening world, we have deep conversation, and then we have a little music to integrate all of this. And I'm actually going to play a video from someone who's going to be on the show tonight. And she works with the United Nations, and they've sent her to Vietnam on a kind of a goodwill project. And I'm talking about Michaela Gaston. And Michaela has been on our show a few times. Some of our audience knows her, but for Bridge and our guests who don't know her, her story is quite interesting. When she was in her early 20s, about 10 or 12 years ago, she was walking along the road, and a group of white supremacist, racist kids started taunting her, and they ended up running her over with their truck. They dragged her for about 200 feet. It took her 2 years of hospital time to recover, and she has dedicated her life to healing. And so this is a song that she provided for our Healing Racial Divide show that we did on January 6th, just last Friday. And so this is Michaela, and I thought it would be inappropriate to share with us tonight. So here we go. And it's going to take me just one moment to pull it up here. There we go.
Good morning, my beautiful family. Oh, how I love to be in community with you in breath, sound, rhythm, and heartbeat on this beautiful gathering in honor of healing America and the world through peace, forgiveness, and love. My name is Michaela, and I'm so honored and blessed to be with you all here today. And I would love to start off our moment together by first thanking Great Spirit Oludumare Odumakuma, Wankantanka Tukashila, Yah, Yehovah, all the Rishas, and all our ancestors, Maferi Fumbokwegun, for bringing us here together to celebrate life and love and interconnectedness, for we are all connected and in an extraordinary moment in time. We are all in a time when the medicine from the plant spirits, animal spirits, and all the elemental spirits, orishas, devas, or whatever name you wish to call these celestial beings that surround us, we all must come forth and stand in witness and in action to our powerful present and our powerful now. In the new year of 2023, let us do a pattern interrupt and break the redundant loop of doing versus being, and remember that being our best selves is enough. We must conjure and cling to our best selves, not only for ourselves, but for the greater community, our global family of interwoven species, for we are all our relations. I'm a relative to you, and you to me, and all of us to each other. And so in honor of that love and connectedness, I would love all of you, including my dog, to close your eyes and drink in this prayer just for you. Bless you. Bless you, all of you. May you feel the blessings of the earth around you. May you feel the blessings of your ancestors surround you. May you know healing for all your days. If your body is tired or rested or anything in between, however you are, may you be connected to the fullness of you. May you know holding and healing for all your days. If your mind is still or racing or anything in between, however you are in this moment, may you be connected to the fullness of you, and may you know holding and healing for all your days and feel blessed. If you are hanging in, hardly holding on, or anything in between, however you are, may you be connected to the fullness of you, and may you know holding and healing for all your days, and may you feel blessed. May you all feel your power, share the beauty and truth of who you are, and be blessed, be blessed, be blessed.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Chance for us to digest all the wonderful wisdom that all of you are sharing. So thank you. I'd love to give Trish and Tangela a chance to share any thoughts or questions that you'd like to bring to our conversation tonight. That looks like Trish deferring to
Right.
Tangela.
Oh, okay. It's up to you. Trish, if you wanted to go ahead, that's fine. No. No, I mean, I just love the conversation. And I think what Reverend Bridge was bringing up in terms of really speaking about the actual violence around, around Martin Luther King Jr.'s death and the reality of that fact is so important because that's really what he was speaking about. The day-to-day violence that so many people around the world in every moment are suffering, violence, because, just the physical violence, the physical violence of not being safe walking down the street in the streets of America, the violence people are facing in the Ukraine, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in war-torn countries around the world, in poverty-ridden nations around the world, the violence that people are experiencing when they don't have enough to eat, where they don't have a safe place to call home. Violence when children are not able to go to school, to receive an education, to actually create a better life. And so that is what Dr. King was speaking of. He was speaking of this day-to-day violence that so many around the world are living in. And the fact is that's still happening today in a very, very visceral way. And I think, thank you, Reverend, for bringing that up, because that was his message, that violence is occurring in every moment around the world. And we have to be recognizing that and speaking about it in order to address it. Because in the reality of who we are as spiritual beings, that violence, all of the ways that it's happening, does not have to exist. There is no reason. Those are all created through artificial constructs of have and have not, of lack, scarcity, old systems of government, health, education that have been created to separate. And we are now in this turning point of our reality, of humanity, where we can now take Dr. King's words and say, yes, we take a stance against this violence that's occurring in every moment against so many around the world. And we can take that stance and say, we're here to create something different. We're here to create something new. We're here to create something that recognizing the multiplicity that lives within unity consciousness, that everyone is different, that everyone is unique, that everyone deserves a chance to be comfortable, have a safe place to live, to receive an education, to have food, to have clothing, and in the way that works for them. Again, we don't have to create these constructs that every single person then feels pressurized that they have to fit into. This is about recognizing the multiplicity, the diversity, the uniqueness of each one of us as individual spiritual beings in these human forms. And then understanding that we can truly create a world together where we respect that, and we create a world where people can be who they are and achieve who they are, and having does not mean taking away, because those are the old constructs. Those are the old artificial constructs that have been created, that our economic systems are based on, that our government is based on, that if you have, I don't have. And that's what all war is based on. That's what all this violence is based on. It's saying that if you have, I don't have. So I have to have first. So that means I'm going to do whatever it takes against you to have what I need to have for my survival. But this is not survival of the fittest. We are all magnificent beings, and we're all here to thrive, not just survive. And so
all artificial.
All artificial. So we're really here to change this whole paradigm, to change this whole narrative. And that's why, I think it's so important that we bring this up, because it is this message of social and economic justice that is at the heart of everything we're talking about. And that's the heart of, that's what's, we're here on a spiritual show, and we're spiritual beings, but spiritual beings living in a human world where economics and social justice is an important part of everything that we do. Because when we're saying oneness and we're saying equality, we're saying that we all deserve to live as one. We all deserve to live in peace. We all deserve to live in abundance. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I think oneness also applies to us. We're not just spiritual. We are also physical. We are also intellect. We're mental, spiritual, and physical. And we must respect all three planes of our existence. I was born and raised in Compton, California. And my father grew up very poor in a little town outside of LA called Bakersfield. And Bakersfield is a small farm city. It's a little bigger now than it was back then. But Bakersfield was really about Central California farming, growing produce for most of Western United States. And my father's father died when he was 9 in a car accident. And so they were very poor. He and his sisters and brothers were very young. And he went around town and collected a bunch of scraps of wood and built himself a shoe shine box. He took it to the local train station and began to shine the shoes of the white businessmen when they would come into town from LA to do their business with the farmers. And in that experience, he learned the game, how to get by, how to assimilate, how to make white people more comfortable with him. And then from there, once he'd made white people more comfortable with them, they began to feel endeared towards him, and would give him little tidbits of information and support with the things he wanted to do with his life. And a couple of them helped him go to school. And when we talk about economic development, this was his economic development story. And so he learned a lot about how to survive in a capitalist, imperialist, white supremacist, cis heteropatriarchal society. And so when it came time for him to marry, he married my mom, and they had me. And when it was time for me to go to school, they put me in an all-white private school that taught me all of the basic socioeconomic stuff to survive in a capitalist, white supremacist society. So I had all of that. I had the privilege of money because my dad he was never self-employed after about 20 years old. I mean, he was never employed by someone else past 20 years old. He was self-employed his entire life and knew how to play the game to make money and invest and save and all that kind of stuff because someone taught him. And we went to these private schools and we got good education, but we were told a lot of lies in that education. Nevertheless, we were capable, my sister and I, of surviving in a white supremacist society, surviving. So when I grew up, I didn't have fear of venturing out into the world. I didn't feel uncomfortable around white people. I didn't fear white people because I'd been taught very early, don't talk too loud. Don't let them see you angry. Speak softly. Don't use any violent language. Don't disagree. Understand what I'm saying here. So by the time I was 27 approximately, I decided I'm going to go on an adventure. I lived in Germany for 5 years. I met my first husband in Germany, and we came back here. We had a child together, and the first home I ever owned with my name on the deed. You know, when you buy a house, they give you a history of that house that goes back all the way to its being built. And this house was in the Hollywood Hills, and it was a 1920s construction. And so in the history of this house, there was a clause in the 1920s that said only white people could own this house. That if you were Black or Hispanic, you couldn't even live on the premises unless you were a servant. And here I was with my name on the deed. I put my son in the school around the corner, which was considered one of the best schools in LA, because that's part of that game that we're taught to make sure that you put your kids in the best schools and you watch your money and you know all these rules that you follow to play the game. That kind of education. I was well educated in that way. Even privileged, I would say. That did not stop my son's teachers from discriminating against him because of the color of his skin. It didn't stop our neighbors from harassing us. It didn't stop the other parents from being unfriendly and unwilling to have us be a part of that school community. Later, when my son was a teenager, it didn't stop the white woman around the corner from stalking him with her Rottweiler all the way home. In fact, none of what I taught my son about love and oneness and spirituality protected him from those experiences. This is why, you know, when I ask Spirit, what do I say? Because I know, I believe in us. I believe in us. I can feel us. I can feel listen, if we can imagine the horrible things we imagine and make them happen, then we are extremely powerful. That we can make artificial experiences in a natural environment and make people think they're real. We are indeed powerful. The universe is mental. So our mental capacity for creating better, it's already there. Unity just is. We are one, whether you want to believe it or not. The thing is, if you don't believe it, then you suffer more. Then you bring dissonance into your life. That is exactly what dissonance is. It's us rubbing up against or defying the truth. Our thinking about what it means to be feminine. Go to the oldest spiritual teachings in the world, and they do not say that divine femininity is meek and mild and only nurturing.
That's a condition of
it's
misogyny.
Patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's to keep us being property and less than.
Yes. And in the last few hundred years, in fact, anybody who wasn't meek and mild and soft-spoken, in fact, don't speak unless you're spoken to, be polite all the time, no matter what. Don't ever get angry. Don't lose your cool. If a woman were to behave outside of that rule structure, she was considered mentally ill.
Or they would make some other crap up about her, like she's a witch, or she's a prostitute, or she was whatever, B words, F words, like
they
just name it.
Have in the 1800s, they came up with a psychological diagnosis for slaves who wouldn't stay put on the plantation. They call it drapetomania. I really want us to understand that the full expression of your nature is divine. So I don't know about y'all, but I am a mother of a gorgeous, intelligent, and it's not just because he's my kid. Trust me, he is all of these things. You would be shocked at how exactly I am describing him. He is tall and handsome and well-spoken and very multi-creative. Like he's what's the word? A polymath. So he can speak intelligently about complex sciences like quantum physics and things like that. And he can also rap and make music. And he's into marine biology and all kinds of beautiful, interesting, fascinating things about this person. And I'm saying this to you because there's no way in hell that I would not be violent to protect him. I would give my life for him because of my because I see myself as one with him. Mm-hmm. We are one. If you and I are in the same space and someone attacks you, I'm going to defend you. If you and I are in the same place and you're cold and I'm going to take something off of myself and put it on you. I'm going to sacrifice because I'm not going to be at peace as long as I experience your suffering. And then we got dissociation, which keeps us from even wanting to know each other, to the extent that white parents right now in America are protesting the story of slavery being told to their children because it's going to hurt their feelings. Because it's going to make them feel bad. And laws are being passed. Facts are being changed. They're not calling it slavery anymore, y'all. I can't remember what it is they're calling it, but I can't remember. Something that's trying to be innocuous. But how about we just change it to human trafficking? How about that? Right? So I really want us to be ignited in this conversation that the idea that Martin Luther King Jr. was meek and mild is a lie. He risked his life and rebelled against a system that really wanted him dead, that wanted to hush him. He spoke out. He risked his life for me. He died for me. I want us to be down for each other like that. Like, I got you. So that, for example, there was a conversation I had with Trish where there were some things that needed to be said to her in order for her to be healthy and in her power. And I didn't want to say them. I didn't want to say them. I didn't want to get in the middle of it. I didn't want to like rub her the wrong way or say the things she didn't want to hear. My dad's voice is in the background. That is not how you keep your business going.
That's real.
So I said the thing, even though there was some fear that came up in me. There was some anxiety in me, like, oh, she's not going to like this. Not going to want to hear it. Oh, and it's going to mean she's going to say something to these other people that are involved and they're not going to like it. Oh, and there's going to be people who judge her for it. Oh my God. I got to be willing to risk my own pride, my own embarrassment, my own business success for the greater good of all of us. And if we were all to make that choice, guess what? Nobody loses. Because we're all on the same side.
That was one of the most loving actions someone has ever stood for me. It was deeply
I was
loving.
Following people's reactions because I was very concerned. I'm like, oh, I know that she's got a lot of people around her who are going to be like, oh, don't rock the boat, don't say those things publicly. Why do you have to? And I knew that this person was going to also gaslight, and I was raised to be a people pleaser, to survive. And this artificial
conversation.
I'm having a similar experience to you of, I hope that Bridge isn't going to hate me, but I need to move us forward. and I need to wrap up the show.
What?
I know, I'm so sorry, but we've got only 9 minutes left. I still want to hear, kind of final thoughts from everybody and also do a little bit of promotion. And so rather than going down the rabbit hole of Trish and her ex, I'd like to just...
Not necessary.
We'll do another show on that, perhaps.
Oh my God.
But I do want to say thank you, very much, Bridge, really, for bringing up the hard stuff, bringing up that he was assassinated and bringing up the hard stuff. And it is important for us to all take action. I do want to read a couple of quick comments because I do usually read much more comments from our audience, but it's been so alive. So just a couple. Mark Denisovsky says, once we view everyone's son and daughter as our own and we defend them with our lives, we'll create a planet that will be sustained for 7 generations. We have to preserve the planet for them. We have to show the way by not reacting when possible, when confronted with ignorance. We can show the way. The burden of understanding is on us, the spiritual seekers, the global peace tribe. We all can win.
Yes.
George Noble points out that the Cathars understood this, and their women were strong women, and fought alongside of their men when the Pope's armies came to exterminate them. And Trish writes, I trust Bridge because she brings up the hard stuff. Courage and integrity, honesty is love. Absolutely. So Bridge Feltus has a wonderful organization that I know. How many times have you taken her course now, Trish?
2, but I want to take the next one soon.
It's onboarding right now. So
okay, so well, we're going to go to your website, and it's the Remember Institute, but it's a new URL now. It's rememberinstitutenetwork.com. Rememberinstitutenetwork.com.
And I just want to say, in a few weeks, it's going to go back to rememberinstitute.com. We're transferring websites right now. Remember Institute is not an anti-racism organization. We are actually about metaphysics and the philosophies of ancient Egypt, Kemeticism, Hermeticism, and we use those philosophies in our curriculum for diversity consciousness work, namely the course Heal Thyself Transformative Initiation for People Racialized as White, which is a 6-week program where we teach 20,000 years of history. We teach about ableism, intersectionality, sexuality, and how our relationships to our bodies, our somatics, are connected or impacted by cis-heteropatriarchy, racism, and imperialism. And then the rest of our work is really about metaphysics and Hermeticism and how that applies to every area of human activity. So come and check us out. We have a network now where you can join at the public level for free. You just go to rememberinstitutenetwork.com and it's completely free to join. And then we have courses and groups within the network where we discuss different topics and offer events and coursework. Our courses are not for people who are addicted to comfort.
And you can apply, you can text, you can get Remember Institute on the go. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm showing on the screen, Bridge, but I just sent my phone number. So you can text me the app. This is where people can join. And I love that. So everybody, please go to rememberinstitutenetwork.com and join. It doesn't cost anything. And you can start, digesting Bridge's wisdom
Yeah,
And
we
Bridge,
have got a community of about 300 people so far over the last 4 years that we've started to bring together with a common interest in shifting these conversations to the truth and being in integrity and including the whole of our humanity.
Well, thank you. I will invite you back, and I hope that you'll come back, even though I sometimes have to come in and interrupt you. So are we good?
We are totally good.
Okay, good. I have such respect for you, and thank you for being with us.
The
I
feeling
want
of
to go to our next generation. Ray and Sahat, I definitely would love for you to also come back on the show where we can go deeper into the really wonderful work that you're doing. It's so important and a big part of what I'm really wanting. And one of the reasons why I'm glad Trish is back with us is I really do want to have more opportunities to get to know people like yourselves who represent the next generation. And so their website, which I just put into the, it's an interesting URL, 7spiritualmistakes.com. 7spiritualmistakes.com. I'm definitely putting in my email address here. I'm curious to see where I have failed. And tell us a little bit about your offering here.
Yeah, I do have one thing that I wanted to add before we do that. I wanted to say, like, when you're stepping into a space of manifestation and we're unlearning and relearning how to live in this life, there are 3 things that you must bring your attention to. These 3 things are what create your reality: your focus, your physiology, and your language. And I think just going back to what Bridge was saying, one of the things that is creating a divide within us is using words like peace, peace, P-E-A-C-E, and P-I-E-C-E, or P-I-E-C-E. We are talking about peace. So when you are looking for peace in the world, you are actually creating that separatism in your language. So use words like wholeness, unity. And I noticed that Bridge said unity a lot. So just bring more attention to your language as you speak. So 7spiritualmistakes.com is basically 7 mistakes that people are making after their spiritual awakening. So after you sign up, we're giving you a free ebook. We created this ebook, and we're giving you that ebook for free. Once you get that ebook for free, we tell you a little bit about our spiritual retreat, where we basically condense 10 weeks of coaching into 4 days of transformation. So,
each day that we're hosting for this event is going to be focused on mind, body, and spirit. And on the last day will be integration, the importance of bringing it all together so that you can leave with the daily routine that you can implement that will amplify you on your journey.
Absolutely. So definitely check that out, and also check us out for Cosmic Combos, which is being hosted on the Soul Search community platform. And we go live every single Thursday, where we create a safe space of healing, rituals, and connection for you to be able to share your experience going through this physical, corporeal matrix life, and just to create balance within the community as well.
And to network, because we're very community based. So we love to have that space for other people to come and connect with other like minds, no matter where you're at in the world.
And that's part of Soul Search. So I brought Tangela back up. So Tangela, tell us a little bit about how that connects with Soul Search and how Soul Search is growing to include programs like they just described.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm so excited to have Ray and Sahat joining us here. I mean, as you guys know, a lot of you who are tuning in who are familiar with Soul Search, we are an online global platform for spirituality and consciousness, healing and transformation. This is a platform where people can go to search for different healers, explore different modalities, find different events, community, for their own awakening, for their own ascension. And it's something that, we don't have to do alone, and we're here to do it together. And so that's what Soul Search is all about. And, Ray and Sahat, I'm so excited that they have their group as part of our Soul Search community, because one of the things that I'm seeing, even Scott, you were part of our Becoming the Quantum Human Evolution Conference this past weekend. And, we always have such a great turnout at our online conferences and online events. And people are always just wanting to continue the conversation. They want to continue the discussion. They want to be able to go deep. And they also want to have opportunities for more private discussion where they can share their own experiences, their own journey, get feedback. And so Ray and Sahat have this wonderful group on Soul Search where they go live every Thursday evening, where people can come and share and talk and go deeper. They bring in ritual, spiritual practices, and, explore all these different topics, everything from going galactic to, mind, body, spirit connection. And this is really what we're about at Soul Search, because everyone, like we were saying, everyone is unique on their journey. There's no one path, there's no one way, and the journey is never a straight shot. It's going to wind and twist and go up and down. And, whether you're exploring your galactic families or you're going deep into Buddhist practice, whatever it is for you, and it can be all of the above, it can be none of the above. What we want people to know is that there's always support there for you wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Because I think for so long, for most of us, we were in the confines of your spiritual journey has to look like this. It means you have to look this way. It means you have to dress this way. You have to eat this way. You have to go to this church. You have to read these books. And that has nothing to do with your spiritual journey. So you're just really confused and feel really uncomfortable all the time. And so now we're breaking out of those boxes, and we just have community and people like Rhea and Sahat, who are amazing leaders in this community, to, for people to be sharing with. And Soul Search, we're all about that. And, we also have a lot of online events as well as live events. This weekend, we're hosting a big psychic and healing fair in Scottsdale. For those of you in Arizona, January 14th at the in Scottsdale. And then February 25th, we have another big psychic and healing fair in San Rafael, California. I know some of our audience members were able to come and join us live. Last one we had in October. And then Rhea and Sahat will also be doing a Mind, Body, Spirit Integration Summit coming up in February as well. So stay tuned for that online. So lots more to come, but welcome Rhea and Sahat. And it's been so great to connect with you, Reverend Bridge, as well, and Trish on the show. And of course, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And I will be at the February 25th one in San Rafael. Yay. So that'll be fun. And Ray and Sahat, I definitely would love to have you back on the show again. And I want to go deeper with the wonderful work you're doing. So thank you so much. Brilliant. Tangela, you have brought so many wonderful people to Global Peace Tribe and just to the world. I so appreciate you as a community organizer. Thank you. And that we'll be seeing more Tangela. And I want to close to concluding. We got a couple more things to do here. Trish is back, and Wednesday nights are going to be where our shows are more like this, where they're Trish-oriented shows, where we're focusing on social issues and challenges facing us as humanity. So, Wednesday nights might be a little more serious, but so important. And so, Trish, thank you for being with us. And a reminder that you can follow Trish on her Instagram. And I'm going to go to her Instagram page. And what are some things you want for people to know about what you're doing, Trish?
Well, there's a lot that I have a lot of support right now to help me with the struggle with social media. But there's a lot that I'm sharing about self-confidence, self-security. A lot that I'm sharing about finding more compassion for oneself and walking into the world with more compassion. So there might be conversations about deconstructing gender or deconstructing my own whiteness. There might be conversations about like steps and tips to help you get into maybe less people pleasing, or like there's a lot of little bits there. It's one of the places that has some of the most of my work. Like my website's fabulous, but it doesn't really show you what's really alive and relevant right now. Before I step off, what I want to say is thank you for inviting me in to have hard conversations, Scott, because I think that this is a really important piece about how we all grow together, is that we don't shy away from the discomfort, but we go through it hand in hand. And that's one of the things that I'm learning that love is choosing discomfort over feel good all the time. And one of the things that Martin Luther King did say is that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. This is a piece where I would love to hold this vision throughout all the years, is that we choose to work together and that we hand hold this together as we step into discomfort.
That's love.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm learning.
Beautiful. All right, well, so we're going to call them Uncomfortable Wednesdays. How's that?
I think we should talk about this marketing strategy. I'm not sure.
I am grateful, though, to see that Mark Danisovsky says Wednesdays are the best. So there you go. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that reassurance. I do want to let people know a little bit about what we've got coming up on the Awakening World this week. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a special show. It's on a different platform. It's my friends Shine and Crystal, and they have a show every week called The Unite Show. And Eden Amador and I are their guests. And we're going to be talking about the rise of conscious media and the Global Peace Tribe. It's at 6:15 Pacific time, 9:15 Eastern tomorrow. You do need to register for it. It's free. Just go to www.unite.love. That's unite.love. Register and join us for what's going to be a really wonderful conversation tomorrow night. And they actually had invited me, and then I invited Eden, because Eden will be my co-host for our show on Saturday night, which is going to be a relationship show. I've invited several of our love coaches and relationship experts who are going to join us, and we're going to be really talking about how to embody divine unity, honoring our polarity. Rajo Allen, Paul Sterling, Eden, of course, Steve Rowland, Heidi Love are all going to be here. And we're going to have a lot more of kind of a conversational format. And as always, our beloved Omashar will be with us playing music on Saturday night. And I'm also going to play a video from when David Pramal and Miten were last on our show. And they talk about how they work with their polarity and their divine masculine and feminine, and then sing a song about it. So that'll be on Saturday night. And then finally, we conclude on Sunday. And this is really special. Piper and Dr. Ivy Hilton are world-renowned. They are amazing sound healers. And we are so blessed that they're gifting us with an entire show on Sunday morning. So it's going to be a real opportunity to drop into a sacred sound bath with Dr. Ivy and Piper Dellums. So that's what we've got happening this week on the Awakening World. And thank you, everybody. And let's conclude, as we always do, with Omashar. And I call him the Alpha and the Omega of the Awakening World. All things begin and end with Omashar.
All right. And, I thought you weren't going to do that, but we are now, so I will.
Surprise for anybody who
nobody always expect the unexpected. So just thank you all for an amazing evening, because what I notice is wherever my discomfort is in my body from hearing what I hear is where I need to let go. and so I can truly hear. And so it's been a really masterful evening for me, I tell you, because they're coming from so many different perspectives, and everything is being pressed and going, hang on a minute, why am I feeling this way? And then I think, well, thank goddess I'm feeling at least. And so thank you, Bridge and Ray and Sahat and Trish and Tangela and Scott. We're all conspiring to shake our roots free. So I'm going to go press a few professional buttons. Here we go. This one, which goes to here. Woohoo! And down here. And we're ready. Yes. Okay. The light of love has come, centering my soul. Amazing things abound as we reach our goal. Celebrate your liberation, shine your love throughout the world. As consciousness precedes true being, I am here, I am now, I will light the way. Our love will lead us on. Our love will clear the way. Our love will show the world. There's nothing in the way. Let go of stories old, walk into the new, free to be at last. So stand up and be true, and celebrate your liberation. Shine your love throughout the world. As consciousness precedes true being, I am here, I am now, I will light the way. Will clear the way. Oh, our love will show the world. There's nothing in the way.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to gallery view. Let's all give him a twinkle. For those of you who have your cameras on.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
And thank you, everybody. I love watching all of you move and dance. And Eleanor Joy, thank you for leading the way with your beautiful dance. I tell you, watching you dance every show is like one of the highlights of the awakening world. It really is. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. It's been a beautiful, beautiful night. Powerful. And I'm going to close with what Mark Danisovsky wrote. You can't learn how to swim if you always hang out in the shallow end. And so there you go. I'm grateful to be swimming with all of you. Going to go back to gallery view one last time. Take care, everybody. And I will look forward to seeing you on other shows this weekend. Good night, everybody.
Peace and love,